Hi, everybody. Welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Danny Vega, joined by my lovely co-host, Sarah Levine. Sarah, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Guys, I'm good. I'm actually very excited. We have a very special guest, a fellow Cuban comedian. This is a very rare breed.
So
We're joined by Alise Morales. Alise, welcome to the show.
Hello. So excited to be here.
Now, Alise and I, we used to work together. We're friends, but I think
also
we're really...
with me.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to cut you
out. More with Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even freaking know these people. I have never met these individuals. No, but Alise and I bond because we send each other memes of, and I forget his name, but he's the guy in I Think You Should Leave, the Cuban guy in the car sketch.
He's kind of the one, like, non-problematic Cuban icon that we really have. And
well, is Pitbull problematic? I think Pitbull's okay. He's just not cool.
Okay. We have that guy from I Think You Can Leave It. We have Pitbull. And I think Cameron Diaz.
Oh, yeah?
Is Cameron Diaz Cuban?
Cameron Diaz as well.
Ooh. That's amazing. So Alise and I also go back and forth because, you know, Cubans are almost, I want to say 95% Republican. And, you know, we're New York libs. So we're always talking about our family and our crazy uncle this or crazy uncle that. So, but that's not why Alise is here to discuss politics. Alise just launched a new podcast, Roast of Your Teenage Self. Tell us about this, Alise.
As you know, when New York was alive, I had a live show called The Roast of Your 15-Year-Old Self, where comedians would come up, they'd do a PowerPoint, they would roast themselves when they were a teenager. So we have now shifted it into the podcast format. Very cool comedians. And basically what happens is they come on and we talk through some photos that they share with me. And we basically just like tell funny stories, embarrassing stories, heartwarming stories, etc. And I try to get a picture of who these cool people, cool, successful people were when they were teenagers.
Wow, that is so brave.
So brave.
So brave.
I'm like, I wouldn't do this with me from 2 years ago. Forget me as a teenager.
Yeah. No, my 50-year-old shit is under like a lock and key and like a blood oath.
Well, what's freeing about it is you talk to other people and you realize how embarrassing everyone was. Like, I was such an insane, like, MySpace emo kid.
Hell yes.
But first of all, I'm not the only one out there. We were a vibrant movement at one time. So it's just interesting to talk about all the various ways. Like I was embarrassing because I was a MySpace emo kid, but like the people who were like Abercrombie kids were embarrassing too. Everyone was embarrassing.
Now, you were telling us that your sister, I said, is there an asshole story that has kind of emerged from this? And you said that your sister kind of takes the cake here. So hit us with your sister as an asshole story. I'm excited for that.
And I'm going to say that I don't think that there's any ambiguity about whether or not she is an asshole in this story. I don't think that there will be any discussion. But when I was in high school, I was like the angstier sister. Like I would be like, fuck you guys, I'm going to my room. But I didn't get in like real trouble. My sister was not angsty. She like is very easygoing, but she got in real trouble. And the biggest trouble that she ever troubled is... She's part of like a really core group of 4 girls who are like buddies since like 2nd grade. And one of them, her parents are also good buddies of my parents. All the parents were like kind of friends, but my parents and this other girl's parents were the closest. They went out of town. My sister and the remaining 3 friends threw a party at their house.
Oh boy.
Which the 4th one had been like, here are the keys, like you guys can have a party at my house. They throw a party at the house. What happens next is disputed. My sister says that they cleaned up, but then another group came back and trashed the place again.
Okay.
Likely story.
Yeah. We all know those robbers who don't steal anything and just trash the place.
So I don't believe that is what happened. But it's the story that Natalie, my sister, sticks to this day. is that they did clean up after the party, but then more teenagers arrived later and they partied and they didn't clean up. Either way, this family comes home, they get home, there's been a party in their house and they can tell. And then they go on Facebook and what do they see? But my sister and all of her friends have changed their profile pictures to truly pictures of them holding red Solo cups in this family's house.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That is so stupid.
The brazenness of it all.
That is my favorite part because I do remember like the brief moment in time that all of this was going down. And like me kind of finding out about it because I had already moved to New York at this point and my sister was like just finishing up high school. And I knew like sisters of these other girls. So it started like getting back to me through the grapevine. They were like, did you hear what like Natalie and the girls did? And I'm like, no. And then it all gets back to me. And I went on Facebook and I saw this picture of my sister fully in this family's
Wow.
like partying, and I was like, well, it looks like they definitely threw a party at their house. And then, yeah, it was really bad. My understanding is that they all had to go meet at the house. All the parents were there. She got in really big trouble.
I love it. I think you're right. There's really no case to be made. I do think the Solo cups was such a blatant fuck you that even if I give her the like mysterious robbers who trash teenagers, it's like you still like rubbed it in these people's face that you like totally partied at their place while they were gone.
Yeah, and like while you're friends with the older daughter on Facebook, like it was just a really poorly
that is so stupid.
Thought out and executed party plan.
That's juicy. I love it. So I kind of gave you a little bit of this, Ali. I'm actually feeling a little bit vulnerable because, you know, normally it's just me and Sarah and I'm talking about my personal stuff. So I feel a little exposed to you, Alise, but
Well,
so the story,
you are releasing a recording of it.
I know, right? That's what I'm telling myself.
Like
I'm like literally,
and like however many of our listeners.
Thousands of people will hear this, but right now I'm uncomfortable because Alise is hearing it now. I don't know what's that about. But so here's the story, the update with the crush. So I was in this rebound relationship. She wanted to say friends with benefits. I said I need 30 days of space. Okay, so we're at like day, I don't know, 20 or so of the space. I get booked on a show because I'm actually trying to enter this comedy competition. So I asked my friend, I'm like, hey dude, I need to get a tape tonight. I would really appreciate a spot. He goes, no problem. My friend at Lovable Lucas on Twitter, I'll hook it up. I go, thank you, Lucas. I go to the show. As I'm walking to the show, I get the phone call. Hey man, Hannah's at the show. Just a heads up. No! So now I've got to perform. I'm trying to get a tape. So now I'm like sweating bullets. I'm like, do I go up to her? Do I break the no contact? I know it's going to mess with me. I'm freaking out. I go to the show. I show up. The doorman, the guy at the door goes, hey man, just so you know, Hannah's here. So
Shut the fuck up.
Multiple alerts.
You should have just left at that point.
Well, no, but I had to get the tape and I was like, I can't ask her to leave. Like, that's not really fair. Like, I'm not going to be like that. You know, that's crazy. So I was like, I just kind of have to tough through this. So then I'm on this rooftop. I'm trying to find her. I can't find her. I'm like, okay, the roof isn't that big. This is
why
ridiculous.
did you need to find her? She had the tape?
No, I thought it would be easier if I just kind of nipped it in the bud rather than do a surprise run in. I guess you're right. Well, I mean, I wanted to talk to her.
I would have avoided her. All right.
I should have avoided her. So anyway, I end up talking to her. I say, hey, please don't watch my set. It's for a contest. It's just like, I'm doing old material. I don't want anyone to watch it. Please don't watch. She like doesn't realize it's me because I have a pizza mask on. So I take my mask off and then there's like a ha at that realization. And so the good news was I thought seeing her was going to like wreck me and I was going to be like super emotional, like hit me like a million butterflies kind of thing. And it didn't.
A million butterflies. Okay, it didn't. Sorry.
It didn't. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, suffice to say, I do the set and then she comes up to me later and is like, hey, can we talk after the show? Ugh. And in my head, I'm like, don't do that. But then
my brain, don't do it. Me, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Literally exactly the meme. So then my like texting my family group chat and then my dad's like, don't trust her feelings, use your head. And I was like,
oh my God.
For once, I agree with Dad.
So, needless to say, I end up walking home with her.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm kind of like pouring out a little bit, but like holding back for the most part. And then she's like, do you want to come over for a bit? And I was like, I really shouldn't, but I really have to pee.
No.
Classic New York problem. There's nowhere to pee. You know, I got to go.
Especially now. Especially now, there's really nowhere to pee. It's actually a really big problem.
Big problem in the peeing community.
I go back with her, and now you guys got to understand too. This whole time when we're having this relationship, her roommates were out of town, so every time I went to her place, it was just like her place. It was really cool. So when I walk in, there's like just people in her house. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Who are these weirdos? In this place, this is my, like, I was almost like, this is more my place than yours. I've spent more time here in the last 2 months than you freaks.
Yeah, this is my sexy place.
Yeah, exactly. I've had sex where you're sitting. How dare you sit there? How dare you? And anyway, but there's nowhere to sit. So then, and you know, she doesn't really have any furniture besides a bed. So I'm like, literally the only place we can sit is the bed. But you only
needed to pee.
I know, but of course I wanted to talk more. So anyway, at this whole time, I'm kind of like in this place where I'm like, this is good. This is like a little bit of closure. And like, you know, it sucks to block someone. It's brutal, you know? And so I felt bad and I wanted to make sure she was okay. And so we're on the bed. As soon as we hit the bed, then I have 1 million butterflies inside me. And she goes, why are you looking at me so doe-eyed? And I'm like, well, because I'm madly in love with you is why, you know, I didn't say that, but in my head, I was like, that's why I'm a doe. So I was like, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. This is like code red. I thought the emotions wouldn't hit. It ended up kind of subsiding and we talked. There was some like good closure. I did end up saying something I regret, which was I still want to be with you, which was way too vulnerable and I regret it.
Oof.
Went home, slept. Woke up, I was like, that wasn't so bad. That definitely set me back a few days. And like, you know, I'll adjust accordingly. I'm going to need probably another month of no contact. And then at about 5 p.m. today, I just started like bawling for like 10 minutes.
Oh, Danny.
That sucks.
Thank you, Alise. I'm very heartbroken. It really sucks. It's my first time getting dumped. So it's not been my favorite.
It's no, it sucks. My most heartbroken summer was like me and my college boyfriend broke up, and I would truly I would lay in a cot at this summer camp that I was working in.
Oh my god!
A cot.
A cot. Oh. I was staying at Wellesley College for this summer camp because I was like, I have to get away. So anyway, I would like stare at the ceiling and listen to Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks and cry and cry and cry.
Wow. Is that a good cry song? I might have to add that to my kind of rotation.
It's a good crying
playlist.
album. I don't know if it actually is. I haven't listened to it in a really long time. I don't know if it's actually applicable to my breakup with Ned, but it felt that it was at the time.
You know, Alise, I gotta say, I feel a lot better visualizing you on a cot mourning someone named Ned. It's
Ned.
just you've given me a sense of.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Oh God.
Well, anyway, that's the juice for you folks. We got one heck of a juicy ep for you. Our second story of the day, AITA for going to the American Girl doll cafe alone.
Can't wait. I cannot fucking wait.
To me. Mm-hmm. But first, AITA for telling my coworker why I don't use our company health insurance. I, F27, was having a casual convo with a coworker, M50, and he brought up that the enrollment period for our company insurance was coming to an end and asked me if I had finished signing up yet. I responded by saying, oh, I use my husband's insurance. Our company is opposed to reproductive rights and only covers birth control when mandated by law. He said something along the lines of, quote, I guess you need some type of control, unquote. And we moved on to talking about the technical work that we were doing. Later in the afternoon, I got an email from my boss, M26, and he said that I shouldn't talk about details of my personal life with my coworker, and it made people uncomfortable. My thought is that equal rights only happen when people are willing to make it a part of mainstream convo. AITA for responding truthfully, but possibly with a bit TMI to a convo started by my coworker, or should have I just kept it at, oh, I use my husband's insurance and not finish the sentence?
I feel like I read, I guess you need some type of control with like an attitude.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very weird response, but I do think it's a little much to like go into that as a casual moment in the office. Like, I think I'd feel differently about it if this coworker of hers seemed to really be pursuing the information.
Yeah.
Like, if he was like really asking her a lot of questions, I think I'd feel a little bit differently, but it really does seem like he just asked her about a work deadline, and she was like, she really got into politics immediately. And I love to get into politics, but it felt I'm having a hard time with that personally.
I know. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I agree with her opinion, and I agree with her assessment, especially when it comes to men, because I just feel like they're so clueless about just like anything related to reproductive rights, birth control. Like, men are just like, oh, well, if you need to be on the pill so badly, like, why don't you just pay for it yourself? And it's like, well, because that shit costs over $100 a month if I were to try to pay for it out of pocket. Yes. Brandon.
Really?
Yeah.
The pill costs over $100 a month?
Yes. If I were to pay the retail cost.
What about the other ones? The shots and the IUD? They're not as expensive, are they?
That's IUD, insane. You'd probably pay like a couple $100 to $1,000 up front. We're talking about like not insurance.
Yeah.
For the implant and also just the like doctor visit and the procedure of them putting it in.
I remember before Obamacare, my birth control was $90 a month. And I was in college and I was just like, this is impossible.
Yeah.
Where will I ever get $90?
Right? It's crazy. So I do like, I totally understand her opinion that like men just like don't know about this stuff because it's like not programmed and then that it's their problem, but it is. But anyways, so I can admire her like impulse to kind of bring it up, but at the same time, she really went like 0 to 100 over there.
I think my biggest qualm with this, I don't know. First of all, I guess there is a read the room aspect to this because like this is a 50-year-old man, so you really don't know what you're dealing with, and some people are like super like, oh, don't, never talk about sex or never talk about whatever. And obviously in a workplace, it's best to err on the side of caution. But what I don't necessarily think is maybe to me the most blatantly egregious thing is she's kind of talking trash on the company. And like, I don't know the full situation, but it kind of just seems like the company's being cheap, right? They're opposed to reproductive rights. Well, is it? Or is it that they only cover birth control when mandated by law? That just kind of sounds like
those are really the only. You would only oppose covering birth control really if you had some kind of moral issue. They're not really being cheap, I don't think.
What do you mean? That saves them money. They're only covering birth control when it's mandated by law.
Yeah, so but you have to like think about the reasons why.
Because it saves money. That's one more thing they have to cover.
But I think that under Obamacare, like they would have to put in an actual religious exemption. I'm not sure if that's 100% the case, but I think that's what the deal with like Hobby Lobby and like
that is the deal with it.
It's
like you have to have some kind of moral obligation. You can't just be like, nah, we don't feel like paying for this.
Yeah, I think
because it's also like the company just pays for the plan or helps contribute towards the plan. Like they don't. It's not like you're paying ad hoc for whatever your employees are getting, like medical services. Like they just contribute towards the premium.
Yeah, I mean, if this woman wants to like organize for a better birth control policy at her workplace, I'm all for that. I do feel like there might have been a way for her to say to her, whatever, her coworker, she could have been like, well, my husband's company's family planning is more like they have like a better family planning coverage or something. I don't even
think this guy was really I don't even think he cared about why.
No.
Like this seems like this woman was kind of chomping at the bit to shit talk their company policy, which is crappy.
Yeah.
The policy, to be clear. However, I think he was just kind of like, hey, FYI, this deadline's coming up. And she was like, oh, here. And by the way, it doesn't seem like he really cared about why.
Well, he reported her, though, apparently, right? That it made him uncomfortable.
Yes, because when he was asking her if she'd signed up, like, I think that he wasn't asking about, like, her reasoning. That's what I mean.
Well, but I don't understand, and I guess, and I'm happy that we've tried to, like, kind of defend her here, or take some shots at her, rather. But, like, give me a break. It's not like she's like, my pussy. Like, she's not saying anything.
Well, yeah, he's
very, like, I mean, his sensibilities are very delicate.
To sanitize it by saying family planning. That's what she's saying. That's what birth control is. Like, just because family planning is on the fucking name of the aisle, like, this is the most sanitized. There's nothing dirty or inappropriate about the actual words she used. That's why the only thing I would say is, like, you are kind of talking shit on your employer, but that isn't even an asshole move to the coworker. That's just kind of not smart to do in your workplace.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like he had, like, moral objections.
Yes,
and
yes.
For sure.
I kind of am getting the vibe, though, like, what is the religious deal of this company? Because if the company is doing some kind of moral objection to birth control, like, does this woman work at a Christian bookstore?
She works at Hobby Lobby.
Part of me is wondering if there is a religious element of some kind to this.
Here we go. Okay, so on Reddit, we got an edit from the OP. I work for a hospital owned by a Catholic conglomerate that employs about 125,000 people. Okay, well, now we know why.
It doesn't make the policy good, but it also, like, it makes... And it doesn't make the guy's squeamishness around hearing about birth control any less, like, pathetic. But it's like, this is a 50-year-old man at your Catholic conglomerate hospital. Right. He doesn't want to hear about your birth control. Like, he's going to report you to HR if you bring it up to him.
Vanessa F. writes, NTA, the coworker asked a personal question and you answered truthfully. If that made him uncomfortable, that is his problem. I kind of feel like we're going to come back to the fact that really this was not judicious of OP, but I don't really consider it a sin. How about that?
Yeah, I think I agree. I just think it was like poor judgment on her part, but I don't think that she's necessarily an asshole.
Maybe poor judgment on her part, but also an overreaction on his part.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you can't let one throwaway comment that is factual go. You had to report her to HR.
How, I mean, I don't know. Like, how pathetic and like, I mean, obviously people think that. Obviously people use birth control, so you have you're like morally against it. So it made you uncomfortable to learn that one person around you uses it. I just don't understand how naive and sensitive.
I mean, the other thing is, like, the boss's justification is complete bullshit, because it's like, oh, she shouldn't talk about details of her personal life with her coworker, but then the same should be said of the coworker. Like, don't be asking who's on the health insurance. That's your personal life.
Yeah, he asked about health insurance. Also,
it's very funny to me how rapidly the response was done to this. Like, he reported her immediately.
Yeah.
He was so horrified. And the boss took immediate action.
Yeah.
Like, this comment that was made was so... It's very funny how swiftly the men all gathered around to be like, do not.
To be like, the women are using contraceptives.
Your nasty pills around here.
Tamara O writes, I wouldn't say you're an asshole by any means, but yes, you should have just ended it with, I use my husband's insurance. A private company has a right not to cover birth control. I personally don't agree with that, but it's not going to change by casually discussing it with your male coworker.
Yes and no. Like, he's not going to probably spearhead a whole, what's the word? Ideological change within this Catholic company. But I do think that making people more aware of, like, this is a problem and why it's a problem is important. But I just don't know if your Catholic workplace is the place to do that either.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree here on this one. AITA for telling my coworker why I don't use our company health insurance. I'm ready to go. No assholes here. I don't like the policy, but I feel like ultimately the guy was made uncomfortable, and I buy that. He didn't really reach for more than that. I don't like him, but I don't think it makes him an asshole. I think what she did wasn't judicious, but it doesn't make her an asshole.
Here's a weird thing that I think we should explore in a future episode. It's the NAH ESH paradigm. Because
I just don't think anyone was hurt to make this an ESH. Like, she was like moderately told off by HR, and he was like moderately uncomfortable from her comment.
Can we say the company's the asshole?
I mean,
the company is an asshole.
All right, calm down, leftists. We get it. I think we agree. AITA for telling my coworker why I don't use her company health insurance. NAH, and the gals insist the company is an asshole. AITA for going to the American Girl Doll Cafe alone.
Let's go.
What is an American Girl Doll Cafe? Because I'm picturing a rainforest cafe filled with dolls. Is that in the right range?
There is a restaurant in the heart of Times Square, which is already hilarious, called the American Girl Doll Cafe. It is a restaurant where you bring... Moms would bring their daughters. It's a good birthday restaurant, I would say, for girls probably aged 6 to 12.
Wow.
You bring the premise is that you come with your doll. You and your doll are served a meal there with whatever adults are chaperoning you. And then also there's an enormous store attached to it where you can buy you can buy American Girl dolls and all of the different accoutrements for the American Girl dolls. And so, it's a Times Square theme restaurant for little girls.
I think they also have them in other cities.
Highly necessary context. Yes. I'm so excited now. I am 31M. Years ago, I went to the American Girl Cafe for my niece's birthday. I didn't really want to go, but while I was there, I ordered the crab cakes, and they were actually amazing.
Oh, boy.
I've been thinking about them regularly since then. I have no interest in the dolls, just the crab cakes. Because I figured most people aren't going out right now, I decided to go back to get crab cakes, hoping it would be an empty room with just me eating my lunch in peace. While it wasn't as crowded, I still felt odd because it was fairly well populated with little girls. Just kept to myself and ordered. The waitress asked when the rest of my party would be joining me. I said I was just there to eat by myself. I could tell this disturbed her, but whatever. It's legal to eat at a cafe. I just like the food there. Well, after I ate crab cakes and 4 glasses of sparkling Brut, is that a wine? What's Brut?
Yes.
Amazing, by the way. The manager came out and said other patrons felt uncomfortable by my presence. I asked if it was because I was a man. They couldn't answer me. Clearly, they assume any man in the American Girl tea room is creepy. I explained I'm just a fan of the crab cakes. Not even the other food there, to be honest. The cake sucks. And I wanted to enjoy a relaxing lunch. They eventually made me leave. Of course, I still had to pay, but this feels like discrimination. I was slightly tipsy, but not drunk. I'm thinking of returning at a later date if I can find maybe a single mom and her daughter who'd be willing to go with me. I'm in the process of dating a single mom with a 6-year-old daughter, and I'd be lying if I said this wouldn't be a perk. But to be honest, the whole experience ruined the restaurant for me. Am I crazy? I feel like I did nothing wrong.
Oh, no. What?
Oh, the American Girl Doll Cafe isn't for you, friend.
It's also not a place that you just get casually day drunk.
Exactly. You have 4 glasses.
Like, that's too much, dude. Like,
that's too much. He lost me at the booze. He had me. I was like, all right, if you're really there for the crab cakes, it's weird, but it's ridiculous that, our kind of pedophile paranoid society. But you throw down 4 drinks at noon and people are going to raise their eyes. That's weird.
I think the American Girl Doll Cafe is a place like a Chuck E. Cheese. It's a space for children. And I imagine, I guess a guy could show up at the American Girl Doll Cafe because he wants to eat the crab cakes, which we can get to the premise that the crab cakes at the American Girl Doll Cafe are amazing because I don't believe that.
Well, there is a tiny paradox that the crab cakes are great, yet the cake itself is not good. So it's not a cake thing over there. It's the crab that they really execute on.
There's just no way that the American Girl Doll Cafe doesn't buy their crab cakes from like an industrial kitchen that sends them frozen crab cakes.
They're definitely frozen. They can't be good.
No, that's not what the American Girl Doll Cafe is about. The American Girl Doll Cafe is not for random lone men. And I think that, I find it particularly asshole-ish that this attitude of like, it's not against the law, so I'm going to do it. And it's like, you know that if you show up at the American Girl Doll Cafe and you down 4 glasses of wine alone, people are going to be like, oh my God, there's a pedophile at my daughter's birthday party.
I gotta admit,
like it's not illegal is like never a good justification for what you're about to do.
You really shifted me when you brought it to Chuck E. Cheese, because I gotta say, Chuck E. Cheese has a far more casual vibe, and yet even there, you get a 31-year-old man having 4 beers during the day, and I'm like,
and you're like, oh, I just like the pizza. You're like, no, just go to fucking Little Caesars. You don't like the pizza, dude.
This is not the place for you.
Order takeout. I get like if you really love the crab cakes so much, call the American Girl Doll Cafe and be like, can I order crab cakes from you for takeout? Why does he need to sit in the dining room with all the little girls and their dolls?
Yeah, like what about this ambiance is like compelling this guy? And the other thing too is like if you really liked the crab cakes, you would sit, eat the crab cakes and go, not like have a leisurely lunch, again, have 4 glasses of sparkling wine and be sitting there so long that you have to get kicked out. Like, come on, sir. You're there for the atmosphere and that's not okay.
I think he also, like, the vibe I get from this guy is, like, again, it's not illegal. Like, I'm going to go to the American Girl Doll Cafe because I freaking can, because it's my right. And, like, I'm going to make the waitress uncomfortable. And I'm going to ask everybody, I'm going to try to make this, like, a reverse sexism thing. Yeah. When really, I know that it's weird for me to show up to the American Girl Doll Cafe.
Right. Like, you know deep down.
Yes. I'm like trying to think of what I think would happen to a lone woman who showed up at the American Girl Doll Cafe and had 4 glasses of wine. I think she would be treated skeptically, but maybe not asked to leave.
I think
women aren't,
they would
they're
be
not
like,
seen as threatening in this way.
I think they would be like, oh, that's sad. And they would probably think that like she had lost a child or something.
It would be immediately a tragedy. The saddest story ever. Man, it's like, this is a pedophile. Woman, it's like, she has been damaged and harmed. Something very wrong.
So I am going to admit that I do get some fake vibes here. And I first wanted to fact check, does the American Girl Cafe have crab cakes? And they do. That part is real.
There we go.
This OP also posted to Best of Legal Advice 4 months ago. So I don't know if that lines up with when this thread was posted.
Yes, it was 4 months ago. Alise sent it to me personally. So, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And she goes, here.
That's so funny. So apparently he thought he had a discrimination case, but...
Yeah, unfortunately, drunk people are not a protected class.
Yeah.
I think he went to the American Girl Doll Cafe, if this is a real story, which it might be fake, but I think if this guy did this, he went to the American Girl Doll Cafe looking for a fight. Like, listen to him, like, being like, I'm going to show back up with my single mom girlfriend, and they're going to be embarrassed that I'm back. And it's like, no, they're just going to feel threatened by this weird man who's obsessed with the American Girl Doll Cafe and keeps coming back.
100%.
All right, I don't think we need to kind of beleaguer this. AITA for going to the American Girl Doll Cafe alone. I think that the actual question here is, getting drunk at the American Girl Doll Cafe really being kind of the key problem. I think we all agree, YTA.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, listener submissions. AITA for explicitly making it sound like my parents are useless and essentially abandoning my youngest brother. I'll start with our ages. I'm F28, sis is 18, my brothers are 4, 7, and 10, mom is 42, and dad's 43. Jesus,
I need to write that down.
Yeah.
So she's 28, her sister's 18, and the brothers are 4, 7, and 10, and the parents are in their 40s.
Okay.
It wasn't that I hate my parents. When I was younger, my mom was a provider. She works, feeds her family, takes all the abuse dad's fam sends her way, but she used me as an outlet. Y'all ever get hit with a microphone wire in the face so hard you twisted with pain? Ever had your mom hold down your head using your hair so she can beat you?
No.
Can't say. I also think if I got hit with a microphone wire in the face, it would hurt, regardless of if I twisted with pain. Anyway.
I don't know. I'm getting skittish vibes on this, Sarah. Do you want to do this one? This is
I don't know. I couldn't find like any other listener submission that wasn't like obvious one way or the other. But I guess this one was kind of obvious too. I can pick a different one.
Yes, I don't know. It's a little
seems intense.
A bit of a yikes. Here, we can do the one that we just got into the email box.
All right, let's do that.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
All right. I haven't read this yet, so let's go. Sorry. I'll just actually paste it right here.
Here we go. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, listener submissions. AITA for refusing to work on Christmas. So I'm a bartender at a strip club. The bar staff consists of myself and 3 other girls. I've been working there for 2 years. However, I'm still the newest bartender. Other bartenders have been there between 3 and 9 years. This year I had my first child. He was born in January. For obvious reasons, my place of work shut down for a few months, and when it reopened, they significantly reduced the hours due to government restrictions. This allowed only 2 shifts per week, which were exclusively given to the 2 most senior staff members, which I understood, but was a bit frustrated by, as it prolonged my unemployment. However, we're back to full operations now, and I have my regular schedule back. The last week of October, I asked my boss if I could have the 24th and 25th of December off. I explained that it's my son's first Christmas, and it's very important to me that I'm present for that, especially since we're unable to have any other family attend. My boss told me she hadn't even thought about Christmas scheduling yet, but she would try her best to make that happen for me. Fast forward to today. My boss sends a message to the staff group chat and asks about everyone's holiday availability. I reminded her that I wish to have the 24th and 25th off. A few hours later, she sends me a private message and tells me that she has to schedule me on Christmas Eve and day because I'm the newest staff member. Therefore, my schedule is lowest priority. She tried to soften the blow by adding that I would not have to work New Year's Eve. However, that's not one of the days I requested off, and I'd actually like to work on New Year's if possible, so I was pretty upset. I asked her if she would reconsider and remind her how important this was for me. She told me there was nothing we could do, so obviously I was upset and didn't respond to her message because I truly didn't have anything nice to say. She sent me another message 20 minutes later asking, "Are we okay?" Here's where I'm probably the asshole. Still heated, I replied and let her know that we are not, in fact, okay. I told her I didn't put up a stink about working last Christmas while I was heavily pregnant and on maternity leave because she couldn't find anyone willing to do it. I explained to her that even though I understand my schedule is the lowest priority, it doesn't feel as though it's priority at all. And considering we only had 2 shifts to give a week, they automatically took them without offering a single one to any other staff members for months. And then I told her that if I'm scheduled Christmas Day, I would not show up. I know that's super unprofessional. I probably sound like a whiny brat, but I'm the only bartender who has a child, and this is really important to me. I also asked before anyone else intentionally because in the past they did holiday scheduling by first come first serve, not seniority. Anyways, my boss is pissed and threatening to fire me. By the way, my boss does not have the authority to fire me. She's the head bartender, not the manager, nor does she have the staff to cover my already scheduled shifts, so that was an empty threat. I ended the convo by saying, "I'm sorry, but this job is not as important to me as spending Christmas with my child." I told my mom and husband about the exchange. My husband thinks I was justified. My mom thinks I'm being a brat, so AITA.
Oof.
I mean, I just think the seniority policy in general, like, it's not, unless you're actively hiring new people all the time, that just means one person is fucked all the time.
You're right. Yeah, she's just, and she's there for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Just shafted indefinitely.
At a certain point, if your staff is static for 2 years, like, you can't do a seniority thing like that. Like, you have to come up with a first come, first serve or whatever. Like, this woman has a baby and it's their first Christmas.
I can't believe, I'm like imagining this poor woman, 9 months pregnant or whatever, bartending at a strip club on Christmas Eve. Doesn't get bleaker than that, I feel.
I'm imagining getting a drink from a bartender who's 9 months pregnant on Christmas Eve. I'm at a strip club. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm like reevaluating my life. Like, you know what? Maybe I should go home to my family.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I mean, the policy itself seems unfair. This seems like a pretty intense, extenuating circumstance. I mean, a first Christmas, it really doesn't get like more important in a child's development than that. I mean, what possibly are these other people doing during this time? And yet she's just kind of rigidly going into the policy. And I guess my kind of zoom out on this is just such a brutal industry. And I don't really think it's fair because like comparing across industries, like I'm like, no, you're not being a brat at all. It's like horrible that you have to work Christmas, you know?
I mean, also because the boss kind of just toted out this seniority standard for this holiday season out of nowhere.
Was that established?
It says in the past, they did holiday scheduling by first come, first serve, not seniority, which is why OP asked in October.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I get that the pandemic, like, you know, threw things into flux, but this just seems like, honestly, it just seems like the head bartender doesn't want to like take shit from any of the other bartenders. So she's just kind of making seniority the bad guy.
That's my read too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, like, I feel like it's common sense. This is like a mother and her child. And I mean, the fact that she worked while pregnant last year, like she built up a credit here.
Yeah. Also, it's so funny to offer her New Year's Eve. It's like she's a mother with a child. She doesn't give a fuck about New Year's Eve. Like,
okay, the only kind of thing I can throw at her is say, like, look, he's a baby. He doesn't know. He doesn't know when Christmas is. I did think that,
but I don't know. I mean, she has a husband, like, I'm sure they all want to spend it together. That's like massive FOMO.
Yeah, first
massive
Christmas, it's
FOMO.
Like, it's more for you. Like, it's more for the adults, I think.
Yeah, the baby is not going to like remember mom had to work their first Christmas, I'm assuming. I think it's about the family.
Away from family, and it was horrible.
Yeah, like, but you weren't like 1 year old.
I think it's the FOMO event of a lifetime. Like there's just something about Christmas Day that is very, very special. Far above New Year's. Who gives a shit about New Year's?
Also, like, damn, what bar is open on Christmas Day? Like nothing is open on Christmas Day except the movies and Chinese restaurants.
Right? It's like, guess what? Maybe you guys can't be open on Christmas because you don't have any staff.
Yeah. Honestly, how much money are they pulling in? This is right. Now I'm interested.
How worth it is it for this place to be open on Christmas?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's ridiculous. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. My heart goes out to anyone who has to deal with scheduling and stuff like this during the holiday season. Super tough. AITA for refusing to work on Christmas. I think, Sarah, you read this right, so I'm ready to go. Not the asshole, and the manager is. I feel like she's not the manager, right? She's the bar staff manager. She's the head bartender. She's being rigid. She made up a new policy. She's not giving OP an inch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think she's an asshole for a few reasons. Number one, just kind of making up this policy and like applying it to a situation it never applied before. Having this poor woman work heavily pregnant last year and getting no consideration, etc.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's the app. Alise, thank you so much for joining us.
So much fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Check out Alise's podcast. Give it a listen. The Roast of Your Teenage Self. You can find that anywhere podcasts are found, right, Alise?
Yes, indeed.
All right, guys. We'll see you next Monday morning.
Bye.
Bye.